Why does Russia need Ukraine? Is Ukraine that important? Welcome to my channel, Why? My name is Dennis, and today I want to explore the question or topic, why Russia wants Ukraine, or why Putin finds Ukraine important to the protection of its sovereign territory. Here are 4 reasons why the West and NATO should care about the Russian invasion of Ukraine. But first, let's agree that my foreign policy knowledge and expertise are developing because I have been around those who know. And I can also do some research here and there on Ukraine, Russia, China, the United States, and other matters of the world that are very important to us. Nevertheless, as an informed citizen of the world, with my ear to the ground on things that matter, I encourage you to engage with important things happening around you. So, we are not all fooled by the political sophisms of the West and NATO, the defensive depredation of Russia, or even the cunning confiscations of China. World leaders may condemn Russia strongly for the current unprovoked attack on Ukraine, as NATO's Secretary General said, but does Russia see it that way? God forbid a full-fledged war breaks out, or the unlawful invasion continues in Ukraine. It will affect everyone's purse, economics, society, and politics anywhere in the world, because the world is no longer a vast unreachable place. What happens in Vegas no longer stays in Vegas. So, think of it. Reason number 1. The factor of Russia's military presence in eastern Ukraine. Russia's military presence in eastern Ukraine may be a major contributing factor to the civil wars in the region. But does Russia have a point? Is Putin really trying to protect the East and their territorial integrity from the continued encroachment of the West through NATO's military presence in that region? To this end, Russia has been actively supplying weapons and military equipment to the separatists since 2014, when it invaded Ukraine by sending troops and equipment into eastern Ukraine. Although the Russian government denied this, evidence collected from social media accounts of separatist leaders and Ukrainian intelligence officials confirms that Russia is heavily involved in the conflict. NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, officials stated that the Kremlin's involvement escalated in June 2014 when it sent troops armed with heavy weapons across the border into eastern Ukraine. Accordingly, Russia invaded and occupied Crimea, followed by the invasion of eastern Ukraine in the same year, and then this current 2022 invasion. Russia's military presence in eastern Ukraine may be a clear violation of international law, which prohibits foreign militaries from entering another state without permission. It is also an attempt to destabilize the country, and this is a significant factor for the ease and success of the current 2022 invasion. Reason number 2. Ukraine and the West are moving and slipping away from Russia's influence. The Ukrainian government has been trying to distance itself from Russia's influence because of the recent events that have taken place in the region. As you may know, in 2014, Russia annexed Crimea and supported rebels in eastern Ukraine. The Ukrainian government feels that they need to do what they can to distance themselves from Russia's influence. In response to this, Ukraine has been strengthening ties with Western countries, such as the United States and members of NATO. In 2015, Ukraine signed an agreement with the European Union, which provided a free trade zone for goods and services. This will allow Ukraine to export its goods and services without paying tariffs or taxes. Ukraine also signed a Memorandum of Understanding on Military Cooperation with NATO, announced on April 10, 2017 by NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, and the current President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, recently just signed a formal request to join the European Union while calling for urgent membership. This has made things very difficult for Putin and Russia. Whatever he or they were trying to accomplish with the 2022 invasion of Ukraine seem to be slipping away. Reason number 3. Russia's invasion of eastern Ukraine is a threat to stability and peace in Europe. Russia's current 2022 invasion of Ukraine and previous annexation of Crimea in 2014 demonstrate Russia's aggression and influence in the region. The West has been reluctant to confront Russia over its invasion due to the fear of provoking another conflict? Or is there another reason? Or is it because many people believe that the West is not doing enough to understand, work with, and stop Russia from invading Ukraine, as it does not seem they care a lot about what is happening there? This, by itself, emboldens Russia. As the West claims, Russia's emboldened invasion of Ukraine is a threat to stability and peace in Europe. It is because Russia has been violating Ukrainian sovereignty for the last few years, destabilizing the country. And if allowed to continue, just as the military aggression and annexation of Crimea in 2014 was a clear violation of international law, what can possibly stop Russia from violating more international laws? The Russian invasion clearly has caused increased violence, with over 10,000 people killed since April 2014. It has also seen an increase in refugees, with over 1 million people displaced from their homes due to this violence. Russia's actions have destabilized Ukraine and threatened European peace. It is time for the international community to show some guts and settle this rivalry once and for all, for peace sake and progress of the world. As an encouragement to those living or trapped in these regions, to those who are directly affected by these invasions, Bible teachers and prophets declare that the God of heaven and author of peace promises to grant peace in the land, to make you fearless, to remove wild beasts from the land, and to make the sword not pass through your country. Reason number 4. The world should care about what happens in eastern Ukrainian. The world should very well care about what is happening in eastern Ukraine. This is not because the world should only worry about the conflict itself. Still, it is important to understand how it has affected people. The people of eastern Ukraine are being subjected to violence, poverty, and corruption. The situation in the country is so dire that many people have been forced to leave their homes and find refuge elsewhere. When these people come across a border, they are met with hostility and frustration from those who live there. The causes of the conflict in eastern Ukraine are rooted in a series of events that happened after the fall of the Soviet Union. The region was one of the most industrialized parts of Russia. The Ukrainian government, which came to power due to the collapse, had no intention to subsidize this region and provide it with the necessary funds for development. This led to a protest movement in eastern Ukraine, which later turned into an armed conflict. One can argue that this is not just an internal issue for Ukraine, but also one that has global implications. In closing, the Ukrainian crisis has been one of the most significant geopolitical events of our time. It affects countries worldwide, including the United States, and China's foreign policy approaches. The world needs to know what's happening in eastern Ukraine because these events have a global impact on other countries. Please like the video, share, subscribe to my channel and ring the bell to help us grow. Kindly post your comment to share your thoughts or knowledge about the topic, or let me know this video was helpful. Remember to send me your why questions. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next video.